All right. So I can start now. So, hi. Hi. Welcome to the mystery presentation. You're probably wondering why I'm up here. I'm not Rand. I don't have an imager. So what am I doing here? So I'll introduce myself. Give me a sec here to get the controls set on this. Hi. So my name is Phil Salvador, and some folks here might know me from previous Mysteriums. I've been coming here since 2015, kind of on and off doing stuff in this community. But I'm actually here today as part of my day job. I am a video game librarian. I'm the library director of the Video Game History Foundation. We're a nonprofit down in the Bay Area in California that is helping preserve the history of video games. Now, when people hear that, I think people might think that we have like a giant room with hundreds of games in it or something, but that's not really what we do. Other folks are doing it better. I'm sure between everyone here, we probably have 100 duplicate copies of Myst. So we're not worried about that disappearing in the future. What we collect is we try to collect things that help tell a game's story. If you're researching a game, if you're trying to do a history about a game or understand it, you want things that explain how it was made, how it was played and understood, press materials, behind the scenes documents, concept art, team photos, source code, everything like that. That's kind of what we collect. We're trying to be a tool for people who are trying to research and study video games. So obviously I'm here for a reason right now. To explain what we're doing, what I'm doing here specifically, we have to go back 1 year. Folks here, I assume a lot of folks here have backed this documentary on Kickstarter, right? Okay. A lot of folks. So we're going to flash back 1 year. You might remember this clip. This was posted on Kickstarter last year. It's Philip Shane Director and Rand are going into the Cyan vault, and they are digging out tons of just boxes of stuff, all these videotapes, and Rand's saying that they haven't looked at these in 25 years. There's filming footage, and they don't know what's on some of these. So Philip is saying, we're going to look through these tapes. We're going to find some clips and use things in the documentary. It's interesting footage behind the scenes. I'm watching this as an archivist, and I'm thinking, okay, that's cool. That's neat. But what would be really cool is if someone could go in there and digitize everything, preserve everything, and get it backed up. So we did. So super excited to announce this year at Mysterium. For the last year, we've been working with Cyan on this. We have been in the process of digitizing all the videotapes of the Cyan vault. They will be viewable for everybody later this year. Yeah, it's been real exciting. We've got some good stuff on these things so far. We've made good headway. We're about halfway done with all the tapes. We've gotten through all the VHS tapes. Next up, they have a lot of, I think it's the raw filming footage for Riven we are still working through. Yeah, right? Yeah. It was recorded in digital beta, which is a very obsolete format now. Literally nobody in Spokane can work with digital beta. So our co-director Kelsey is driving tapes out to Seattle next week to get them done. We want to make sure this thing gets done. But it's really good stuff. It is most of what we have is behind the scenes for Riven and behind the scenes from Cyan during the production of Riven. So tons of behind the scenes stuff nobody's ever seen before. There's some other things. There's some Uru stuff no one's seen before. There's just other kind of fun odds and ends. So we're processing all this. We estimate when this project is done, we're going to have about 100 hours of video footage, which I just want to quickly shout out Cyan, by the way, because this is kind of unprecedented. As someone who does this stuff, I don't know a developer who kept 200 videotapes in their basement. That's really amazing. And I huge shout outs for them to for being amenable to this and working with a nonprofit like us to share this stuff publicly. I want to give a shout out. He's not here today, but Tony Fryman, I want to shout out for Saya. Yes, please. Oh my God. Tony has been doing the literal heavy lifting on this project. So he's been picking up tapes and putting them in vehicles and moving them places. This was one of the stacks of things he's moving around. You can see it says Riven Miscellaneous or Riven Composite, so a lot of footage. We don't know what's on these yet. We're still sorting through everything. But it's coming along real well. Super excited. Cyan has been again on board with doing this. I think everyone's question though is when this stuff's gonna be done. So the plan is hopefully later this year we are launching the Video Game History Foundation's digital library. This has been my problem to figure out. We want to share as much of our collection as we can with people, so we've been digitizing all the things we've been collecting over the years from video game history. It'll be a website where you can access a lot of them. And at some point, again, hopefully by the end of this year, we'll be launching the Cyan collection, where you'll be able to watch all the videos in your browser. Super excited about it. It's going to be a great tool, we think, for people who are just researching this stuff. Because, if you're trying to write, the definitive book about Riven, for instance, it's going to be so great to see behind the scenes and hear from the developers as they were making it. It's not someone's, recollections 25 years later. It was stuff filmed in the moment. Or, if you're, making a documentary about Myst, you're going to like this stuff. It's going to be good. So we're super excited about this, but we're just announcing it here right now. It's still very early in the project, but we're going to have more to share about this stuff later this year. But it is Mysterium. It is the 30th anniversary of Myst, so we're going to show you some stuff right now. Okay. Going with the theme from Jeff earlier, everything you're about to see has never been seen outside Cyan before. We're real psyched. So I was trying to think of what would be a good way to kick this off. What would be a super exciting thing to show you? And I mentioned a lot of the Riven footage we've been working through, and I was thinking, what is something we can show you that would be unite the room, make everybody happy? And I realized I think what everyone wants to see is Gen bloopers. Yeah. So what we have the composites, which are, while they were filming, they were kind of live putting in the backgrounds just to make sure, the lighting worked and people were in sync and all that. So we don't have the raw blue screen yet, but we have the semi-finished versions of them. So this is, generally people watch a little clip of Gen talking. John Keston, obviously, amazing performance as Gen, one through the ages. A lot of Gen's dialogue is very exposition heavy. It does not roll off the tongue easily. There's a lot of line up to be in this part of the screen and do that. There's a lot of direction. So it took a couple takes to get some of these. So we're going to watch just one clip of Gen doing his thing. This is from just one short scene where he tells the player that the work he's doing is quite demanding.
Okay. The work I'm doing is quite demanding. The work I'm doing is quite demanding. Please don't signal me unless you decide to use the book. The switch will reset itself once you link from here. Goggles. Okay. The work I'm doing is quite demanding. Please don't signal me unless you decided to use the book. The switch will reset itself once you link it here. Once you link. Okay. The switch will reset itself once you link. Well, the switch will reset itself once you. The switch will reset itself once you. The work I'm doing is quite demanding. Please don't signal me unless you've decided to use the book. The switch will reset itself from here. What? The switch will reset itself once you link from here. The switch will reset itself once you link from here.
Just were off. You were.
I was off. I'm sorry. The work I'm doing is quite demanding. Please do not signal me unless you've done. Don't, yes. The work I am doing is quite demanding. Please don't signal me unless you've decided to use the book. The switch will reset itself once you link from here.
Good. Very well.
It's just so cool to see. It's like it's a place, and he's there, and it's happening. It's amazing to see. So I mentioned that we were watching these ones with the backgrounds already put in. Now the filming took place before the game was completed, so there's some scenes where the backgrounds are a little different from final. You might remember this from the ending of Riven, when everything is very post-apocalyptic, and I guess it's current apocalyptic. It's happening while you're there, but it's very brown and dark and black skies. During the filming, this looked real different. Yeah, they changed it at some point for some reason, but the dagger's still there. So very, very, it's just interesting to see kind of the work in progress version of that scene. Now I showed you some of the footage, but we also have, there's, hours and hours of that stuff. We have a lot of behind the scenes video too. During the filming of it, somebody, I'm not sure who, just took a camcorder backstage and just filmed what was happening. People messing around, getting ready for shoots, constructions of the set, just all this cool stuff. So we have some messing around footage, which is fun. Just a quick clip. So this was, as they were getting ready for the ending of Riven, they're staging things, Atris and Catherine, who I'm referring to as real people, I guess, they're real in our hearts. Atris and Catherine are practicing their scripts and getting their direction right. They're working with Richard, just making sure they're ready. But they're also, it's been a long shoot. They're getting a little punchy, so they're messing around backstage. Just like a little minute of this.
Hello, where's Atris? The villagers are safely in the Rebel Age. They thank you.
As do I.
This is some of the best work I've done.
As do I.
Where's Gen? I'm secretly in love with him. Forget Atris. The villagers are safely in the Rebel Age. They thank you.
As do I.
Oh, Gen, I love a man with an accent and a uniform. Although men in dresses are excellent, too. Don't get me wrong, Atris.
There's a lot of that kind of stuff, which is great. But that's funny, but I mentioned that this is a collection for research. We want people to really dig into and understand how these games were made. So I have a really cool one here. So do folks remember on the DVD version of Riven, there was a making of documentary. It was 15 minutes long. It was on a little featurette. They filmed 15 hours of footage for that thing, including interviews with all the leads on the game that nobody's seen before. So we're gonna watch a quick clip of one of those. This is an interview with Richard Van der Wendt. He's talking about two things. Called the early version of what became Survey Island, specifically kind of the conception of the work and how those two things fit together, and developing the idea for this creature and how it fit with their original game concepts. I've never heard this explanation before, so it's really neat to just have some insight into the development process of how these things all fit together.
The whole island itself was called the Garden Island at the time. It didn't really have a function. It was supposed to be a place that was created by Gen, and a place that he found beautiful, and a place that revealed something about his character. So it was an interesting idea. If this guy's a bad guy, what would he find beautiful? And he's also from another world. So what would this guy find beautiful? What would be some sort of strange, thought-provoking stuff that he might have in his garden? And so part of my thoughts to justify the work was maybe he could have a little bit of the sort of Edwardian big game hunter mentality with regard to these walks. Maybe these walks were they're very prodigious creatures. Maybe the local inhabitants of this world respected these creatures in the way that the Eskimos, respect killer whales, or something like that. And so maybe Gen could take these things and sort of blasphemously abuse them, or hunt them into near extinction, or incarcerate them, or as a way of demonstrating his superiority to the natives. And so that was where the Tusk idea came from.
I love the idea of, like, what would Gen find beautiful? I never thought about that. That was part of the process of developing that, which is just really interesting. So that's the kind of stuff we have for Riven, a lot of that in various forms. I did promise you a little over stuff, so I've got a tiny thing here. Possibly realness stuff, depending on how you want to categorize it. So, folks, I'm not sure if you remember a few years back, Eric Anderson released a bunch of the early demos of Plasma Engine and Uru and Td in real time. Have folks checked those things out before? Okay, good. Okay, you'll know what we're talking about. Okay. So, you've seen this picture. This is the early version of the Plasma Engine. I've been told this guy's name's Simon, according to Eric. That's our hero, Simon. Plasma was an engine they got from a company called Headspin Technologies, and that was what they then built Realnist and then Uro on top of. But this was like the earliest, like, this is just, here's the engine, here's a guy walking around, can pick up a flashlight and all that stuff. So what we found on a tape was we found what I think is the earliest footage of Cyan starting to turn the Plasma Engine into a future Myst product. So this here is the earliest footage I've seen of a real-time Myst island done in the early version of the Plasma Engine. It's very primitive, as you can see. It's not textured, the interiors aren't done, but it's a functional Myst island. You can walk around, 3D, it's got everything. I don't know if this, became the base for real Myst, or if this was an engine test. I'm not really sure what the situation was. But the wires aren't connected to help the props together, but this was the very early stages of, hey, we're doing a Myst thing in 3D. We have footage also of the interiors, and you can see here, that's Simon from the engine test demo walking around Myst Library. So this was, right after they did that engine test. That would have been 99 or 98, really early before they're actually getting heaved into real Myst. Unfortunately, the rest of the tape was recorded over someone playing X-Men vs. Street Fighter. That's the nature of VHS tapes. You don't know what's going to be on them. Okay, they're splashing. I'm going to get off that. It's VHS tapes. What happens? Okay, honestly, I think it probably was mostly X-Men, and then someone recorded the demo on top of that is what happened. So, we got all the good footage, but, there are some tapes like that. So I mentioned there, we got Riven, we got some of that early Plasma stuff. But we have some other fun things. This one, I don't think anyone knows about. I don't even know if Cyan knows about this one. Yeah, it's really good. So, Myst 4 was not developed by Cyan, as we know. It was developed by Ubisoft Montreal. But what they did was, early in development, they made something that in the game development world is called a vertical slice. Which, when you're kind of prototyping a game and starting it out, what a vertical slice is you take one corner of the game, you give it full budget, you flesh it out all the way, you build everything up, you add all the features and detail. So it's like a vertical slice of the cake, where it's here's all the various fillings and content you're going to get. So for a prototype, Ubisoft built a vertical slice of Myst 4, and recorded a video of it and sent it to Cyan. So we have a video of that now. It's pretty cool. It's mostly Tamana. It's mostly an early version of Tamana that's got some pretty drastic differences from the final game. There's a little bit of Haven in there, a little early Haven. There's some new Yisha stuff nobody's seen before. Yeah. Don't get your hopes up. It's not that great, but it's a different actor even playing Yisha, but it's just amazing to see. It's early fleshing out what the prologue to Myst 4 is going to be. So this one's a little bit longer, maybe 2-3 minutes, but this is the early clips from the prototype version of Myst 4 we built.
Hi, and welcome to the Myst 4 prototype video. This informal video is meant to accompany the Myst 4 prototype. The prototype was a really great learning experience for us and a very necessary step in our pre-production. But as we finished it, we realized that all by itself, it really isn't enough to give a true taste of what the final game will be.
On the left.
And that's where the idea came for this video. To be a showcase for all the things that are going to take us from what we currently have in the prototype to what we're actually aiming to do in the final game. Each texture in Exile was 640 by 640 and was displayed on a 640 by 480 screen resolution. In Myst 4, as you can see in the prototype, we raised the texture size to 768 by 768 and the screen resolution to 800 by 600. From day one, our intention has been to animate the Myst universe like never before. This is something we've spent a lot of time thinking about and which led to the development of very specific technology. Of course, there are still times when full-screen videos are required. Bink allows these videos to take less space. As always, they can prove very dramatic. Beyond the technical features needed to animate the world, we know that the game experience will only become more dynamic once the content is made more dynamic as well. We planned for this to happen in a variety of ways.
Hey, wake up! Are you alright? Oh, wow, you must have been shocked real bad.
Our use of NPC characters will be greater than any of the other Myst games to date. We really want players to feel that this time they're exploring worlds that are truly inhabited. The NPC interactions will increase the feeling of immersion, help the flow of the story, and create a stronger bond between story, puzzles, and environments.
You were using Dad's crystal viewer when you got knocked to sleep, weren't you?
Even our more traditional mechanical puzzles will manage to integrate themselves better with their environment and the storyline.
Running Myst 4, yeah. That's it. So that's all the clips I prepared for now. But again, this is coming hopefully later this year. We're working on it. They've said that the digital library we're setting up is a fill problem, so this is my responsibility to get this stuff up. But later this year, things are going to be viewable by people. We're so psyched about getting this out to people. Can't wait for it. A quick plea, by the way. We're a small, scrappy organization, and this was kind of a big project for us. If you want to help out, we have a little tip jar thing going for this project. We want to try to offset the costs from it. If we can make some of this up, we'd love to keep doing projects like this in the future. Like, no matter what happens, all this stuff's getting out in the world, but little funds will help us do more things like this. We'd love to keep working with Cyan. It's super exciting to do this, so we'd appreciate your help. You can pitch a little bit. Not necessary. But we have a little time at the end for questions. I assume there's probably a bunch after what we just watched. But I see some hands up. Yes, question. The question was, sending footage to Seattle, are we working with Victory Studios? We're not. It's this place called VPops, which is, it's an archiving service that's based out of Seattle that, nationwide, they're one of the standard bearers for this stuff, and they were willing to, make a good price for us off this, so we're able to get all the stuff. That was fantastic. Yes? Okay, so the question was, what footage we got from Myst the original. I'll just explain what we got from kind of all the Cyan project stuff. So Riven, I kind of showed you what we have. Exile and Myst 4, we kind of only have the one video I showed you because obviously Cyan didn't work on those. We have, for Uro, it's mostly kind of early concept videos and pitch videos. If we have any oldies here, and you remember the soda trailer, the very early showings of Uru, it's we have the soda trailer. And we have the filming of the soda trailer where it's the guy with the green screen monitor drinking a soda. So it's very that kind of stuff. We have a little bit of play testing for Myst 5. We know there's Myst 1 tapes. We were talking to Brandon earlier. They're somewhere, but no promises on that. They're in a drawer somewhere, but we know they exist. I was gonna say, unfortunately, we don't have any footage of Bug Chucker. We're gonna have to preserve that one through oral history, I think, is really the solution. Nothing from pre-Mist 1. Everything, the majority, because we also have a lot of things kind of from Cyan around that time. Like, we have footage of, like, the building of Cyan HQ and things like that. So it's, like, things that occurred during the span of Riven. There's a lot of video documentation of, like, award ceremonies and that sort of thing. Interviews, a lot of news footage, actually. Like, Cyan is on CNBC talking about Riven for some reason. Like, a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's really cool to have, too. Philip, go for it. We outsourced your nightmare for you, I think is the... For the folks at home, the question was thanks, which I appreciate. But honestly, like, the way we do it is, like, when people talk about video game research, I think there's an assumption it happens, like, in academia, or people say, like, how do you become an approved researcher? But we like to say, like, we do it for storytelling. We do it for people doing documentaries. We do it for people doing, like, YouTube channels, running blogs, or streaming, or things like that. And that's kind of what we're trying to reach with this stuff. It does no good if we capture all these videos and seal them away in a different vault. It's like, we want to get this stuff out. So we're excited when an opportunity like this shows up that we can actually do this. It's great. Savitra. Sorry, can you repeat that? The question is whether we preserve the footage and the games or one or the other. We just do things like the footage. Just because there are folks already doing the game preservation side of things that we think are doing a great job at it. There's places like the Museum of Play in Rochester, New York does an amazing job. Yeah, the Rochester people here, yeah, it's great, it's amazing. Even like private collectors, like I mentioned, you folks here, like I'm not worried about there never being a copy of Myst in the world. Like, we have this kind of redundant, geographically dispersed archive in this room right now. I think for us, it's the material that's kind of at risk is this kind of stuff. The game industry has this issue where everything is a trade secret and no one can see it, but it's also disposable and you can throw it away as soon as people stop caring about it. So it's like, Cyan knew this stuff mattered and was willing to work with folks like us to make it available. Like, that is so awesome. So that's the kind of stuff we go after. So when this one came up, it was like, we got to strike while it's hot. Yes, you. Left. Oh, my left. Yes, and then it'll get to you, yes. Question was, what are the cool things the Foundation's doing besides the Cyan thing? We have a lot of things in the pipelines at all time. I'm not sure what things we've announced yet. I'll say that one cool thing, this happened a couple of years ago, but it's one of the cooler things we did, is we backed up the archives at Game Informer magazine. They were based in Minneapolis, and they, like, every time anything got sent to them, they just put it in a filing cabinet. So, like, we have, like, every press release they ever got sent. So, like, I guarantee there's got to be something Cyan in there. Bruderbund or whoever else, Ubisoft, like, there's certainly something in there, but that's the kind of stuff we do. There's individual developers and producers we work with that I don't think we've announced any of that yet, but a lot of behind the scenes things. Someone gave us a CD that had all their emails backed up, and it was like, we can't put this out on the internet. We can't just, like, leak someone's emails. So part of my problem is figuring out, like, okay, how do I do this ethically? Like, how do we make sure we get the stuff out but not, like, upset everybody? That stuff. And then, yes, you, who I was also pointing at. Yes. Yeah, other games we're covering right now, it's really just kind of who's amenable to working with us. We find folks who are, again, interested and willing. I think one of the people we've mentioned working with, this guy named Mike Mendheim, who did a lot of games back in the day. Like, Mutant League Football was one of them, and, like, he kept all his papers and was like, yeah, sure, we'll scan them, great. We love doing, I think, what's called the Archives World post-custodial archiving, where we don't want to, like, take everyone's stuff and keep it in the pilot cabinet forever. Like, with Cyan, we gave them the tapes back. We just cared about the video. It's like, that's their stuff. Like, obviously, they want to keep their stuff. So we're happy to work with people who is like, yeah, we'll help digitize your stuff. If you want to keep it, that's fine. So folks are amenable to that too, but it's really just whoever we're able to get in contact with. I've got time for one more question. You've had your hand up. Yes. The question was, are we going to have the actual making of documentaries, the final products, raw footage? We have like a VHS quality copy of the making of Riven documentary. I suspect there might be a higher quality one on the tapes we still have to do yet. We got to figure that out. Obviously, it'd be nice to have like a really nice high quality one rather than like the deteriorating VHS. But that's the other half of the stuff we got to figure out still, which is that is a next week problem once I'm back in the Bay Area. But I'm at 30 minutes. That's all I got. But thank you all so much. Good job, Hashim. Thank you.